And they all get
It's a good question.
everyone gets a prize.
True, true.
And the education they have, like the hearing.
Alright,
but it's
I'm just gonna leave the recording going and then they can,
like they.
that way we do not forget.
Exactly.
Start it.
Meeting night is my understanding. I
Alright,
think
so, okay, so we've got the camera on.
Oh, man, that would be
There's
great.
the
That would be
participants tab. Oh, I'm gonna rename us so we're not called Maddie.
Just waiting for the next thing to get scheduled. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Bye, Emily.
Yeah.
I sure did. The one.
Okay. Yeah, so we're talking, look at us talking. Well, now they can see the slides. So just kind of keep an eye on that. And I haven't split so you can see the participants here because you have to manually admit everyone. I'm not going to admit them yet though, but you have one person. So, and then it'll pop up down here if there's the chat, and then yeah.
So
I feel like you probably know how to.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to chat with trivia, and I think I have one. Just have put something in. Just thinking of this later.
And then this should work. I think the reason it wasn't working earlier is I think it was people had clicked into here.
Okay.
You have to stay clicked on here and then it'll go.
That makes sense.
So, and I looked and I think the video was already set up to work. You can test it if you want to.
Oh, no, I think it was really it. No.
Yeah, usually you just have to press it twice and then it'll like take a second, then yeah. So it looks good and that's there.
yeah,
Okay.
And it was
kind of like up in the hallway.
Okay,
This
that
is
works, yeah.
the Oregon version of.
I feel that's gonna be recorded portion, but yeah.
I mean,
We're working with what we have.
you heard where she's going?
She's going to middle school. I'm not sure if it's in your
So she's gonna be a teacher.
which is basic as that. So.
Yeah.
Are we live already?
Just wondering, we didn't fit anyone in. We're just leaving it going. They can cut off the beginning part. You are technically being recorded. It's fine. That way we do not forget to record. We don't forget anything. But we will wait to admit until like time.
Yeah.
I know, I didn't.
Yeah. Microphone. So
Yes,
this
this is the camera.
is the microphone and it's got cameras there.
It's like right here.
Okay, so I don't need to be in.
Yes, so when Lindsay's standing there and I'm standing here, then
Then
it
we
does
can
it.
still have the screen. Otherwise it'll focus on your face and nobody can see the screen.
So what I'm gonna have to do is have you guys stand here. When you're presenting, I'm stand here.
And do a little dance every so often.
Usually I thought in presentations you just show the slides. 'Cause the slides would be way more crisp than the camera on the slides. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So it'll be good. It'll be good.
yeah.
When you're presenting, you're gonna stand here and I will stand there. So
Okay.
that's the camera. That's the thing that it's supposed
There's
to do.
my son.
What?
My
Oh,
husband, I'm with my husband.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of the Bennett family.
There's a lot of the Bennett
do they get, I know your
We get
kiddo
royalties.
rides with you, but do you volunteer your husband to be a part of your
in the photo.
event?
I feel like we just.
Oh, is this a photo? This is a pro- oh, I didn't know if it was an event.
No, well, I've tried to get him to dress up as and walk with the walking school bus, but the timing's difficult for.
Oh, I also
Yeah,
have
for
a
everyone.
start plug in here.
But-
Nice, nice.
Like we're just gonna do some stainless.
Perfect.
The event.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we could do the share screen. I don't know. Whatever.
I think
y'all
this is
want.
fine. This is
Okay.
great. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
End of the day, whatever's been working so far, just keep.
Yeah, that works.
And then
I have to manage the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be nice.
I felt so bad that I had people during the friendly driver part and then they got like kicked out.
Oh, yeah, on the, yes, yeah.
The other computer was just so glitchy.
Your kids in the old.
I was trying to not
try to
like
like
this one so I could.
then they get overly confident. But I don't do it anymore, right?
No,
Because
is that the-
for a year.
I think it got taken.
You were at a
Probably.
That's
Take it away.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, what's it?
Thing, what can be like, often in here?
I mean, like, yeah, I think end of the day, people are.
You got me, guys. You got me.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks.
yes. Perfect. You may win all of the trivia prizes, so. it'll be great.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because I knew a couple of you guys said that you were right here.
Remember though, where are you going? You're leaving Japan.
Yeah, I'm actually leading trips outside all summer.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
So, yep, for girls, like backpacking, sea kayaking, and playing.
Is it through an organization or?
Golfing girl, they're based on Montana.
Cool. That'll be really fun.
Yeah, and I'll be teaching English abroad next year.
Oh, where are you going?
Either Spain or South Korea, mostly.
Very
Oh,
fun.
very
I have a
cool.
friend who used to teach in Spain and now she's in Italy and
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
just loves it.
A lot of people get sucked into it and then go to different countries and are in it for a few years, so.
Mhm. Yeah, my friend is like planning to just stay in
Yeah.
Italy. She's like, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't think I had.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Tonight, I mean.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're the last ones.
You have to
It's, it's gonna be.
Barcelona.
Last presentation.
Yeah, so Megan Ramey just went to Barcelona for a big.
Also, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll have to wonder about that.
We're at the same time as.
Yes, I think there was one about art and artists, and I was like, that's.
I definitely remember the ring.
Yeah, no, restated that.
Yeah, she probably.
She's probably
has
heard
to
all
look
this.
up, what's going on in Spain if you end up-
I'm extremely interested.
I'm also gonna be.
Yeah, then I have 45 minutes till Ayacucho.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right now.
In a year.
And they're still like looking at myself.
It'll probably be.
I know, it's so weird. Well, again, you can't do the share screen, but.
Oh, it's fine, it's,
Oh,
they're gonna see us.
It's funny with trying to be able to see it.
Yeah, no, this is. We're all good. We got it.
But putting, Definitely in your tab. Yeah.
The
So I
kids
gotta figure out.
would have to have the app.
I do want to get my master's in something.
Someone said
They're curious
Do
how
your
that
masters
program
in
would work.
Europe, that's what my friend did.
Okay.
It's cheaper, cheaper, I did that as well, yes.
You know,
And
friend actually did.
fun. I know, in the Netherlands, yeah, yeah. The Netherlands, not Holland, I wasn't in the Holland region. I was
That was one of the.
feel pretentious saying the Netherlands, but it's geographically correct.
I forgot to ask them about their bike.
Didn't get my start about it, it's okay.
Maybe she-
Do you want me to grab my one rice? Like that one?
Let's start us here in a minute.
That's what got broken into. Yeah.
I just like,
So William is I will let him. He hasn't back yet. He's playing his Xbox right now.
Let him guess first though.
Don't give me this person.
Yeah.
And then I can do a little intro for y'all.
No, I didn't. I was like, I'm just.
Yeah, like, oh, I know.
To those joining on Zoom, we're gonna get started here in just a second, but I wanted to.
okay.
Cool, all right.
I'm done.
So that's it.
Running away. I mean.
All right. I guess we technically have a couple seconds.
Oh, it took, okay.
Yeah, there's 3 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. All right, so welcome to the 2023 Oregon Active Transportation Summit Move into Action. Our next session today is Rural Safe Routes to School, Community Outreach and Engagement Success. And then just a quick reminder that after this session at 6:30, we're going to have our Move into Action Pitch Fest, aka the Pechacucha. So we hope you'll join us. We're going to have pizza and popcorn for sale, and then lots of fun active transportation Pechacucha. So that'll be over in Marshall's at 6:30. All right,
Perfect.
take it away.
Awesome. All right, thank you all for joining us too at the end of a long and exciting day. We're here to talk about rural safe routes to school and some community engagement and outreach success. My name's Emily Dougan. My pronouns are she, her. I work for Commute Options, and I'm also part of the technical assistance provider team here with Lindsay. And I coordinate the Central, Eastern, and Southern Oregon Safe Routes to School Hub, which these three lovely folks are a part of. And the mission of this hub is to embed safe routes to school in all communities in Central, Eastern, Southern Oregon, which is often quite rural. So we have a lot to say about engagement. I like to start with the purpose for these things. So the purpose here is to understand the importance of safe routes to school programming in all communities and how to promote student transportation options in rural contexts through outreach and engagement. Here's our agenda for today. I'm going to give a really brief, quick overview of safe routes in rural Oregon. We're going to have our panelists present. Quick programming note, Dani was unfortunately not able to join us today, so she's no longer presenting, and Janelle Newton couldn't attend virtually or in person, so she recorded her session, so you'll be seeing a video of her. So then we'll have our panelists present on their programming, and then finally have some Q&A discussion. And to end the day and reward you for sticking around, we're going to have a trivia contest, so you get some little prizes. It'll be nice. Here's just some overview of what safe routes looks like in rural Oregon. 1.3 million Oregonians live in rural areas, so about a third of the population. And then, that's basically 2/3 of the state if you're looking at a map where people are spread out. So there's a lot of distance that students are traveling. Even if they're traveling within that walk zone, they're often using unsafe infrastructure or infrastructure that isn't really meant for students to be traveling on. So construction and education efforts are definitely needed. And the reason that those are needed and that safe routes education and encouragement is needed in these areas is because students are still walking. Where I live about a mile away from my school, but there's a long country road that it's dark in the morning and dark at night, and students are still using it, even if it's not the most safe. So we need to have that. The comfortability that they get from learning to walk, bike, and roll gives them a sense of independence, even if they're not walking all the way to school. Maybe, they're walking to a friend's house or they're walking to the park. So having this type of education encouragement activity is really important for those students still. And then too, rural students leave their community. Beth, you lived in Elgin and now you live in Salem. Probably having some biking and pedestrian skills has been helpful for you in making that transition. So it's important to get those skills early, even if they're not using them daily in their communities for their commutes. It's something they're going to use later on. All right, with that, I'm going to introduce our panel. First, we'll have Whitney Bennett, who is my coworker at Commute Options and our education manager. Then Janelle Newton is going to be joining us via video. She's the Safe Routes to School coordinator for Douglas County Education Service District. Then Jessie Wilson, who's the Safe Routes to School coordinator with LeGrand Parks and Recreation. And finally, Julie Van Horn, who is the Safe Routes to School educator for Medford School District. Awesome. Whitney, you're yours.
No. Okay, so mine's going to be kind of brief. So please, at the end, I hope there's some great questions, but you can go ahead and advance the slide. So what I'm going to talk about is some of the summer programs that we've offered. So I do all Safe Routes to School coordination as well, and I'm during the school year, I'm in the classroom or outside the classroom teaching pedestrian and bike safety. But then there's the summer, because we work the whole school year. Because I work for a nonprofit, so it's not on a school program. And there's so much opportunity to reach more students in the summer and keep the relationships and partnerships strong, because that is an essential thing about the Safe House to School program, is just having those excellent relations, so that when you do call in August, they're like, oh yeah, I saw you out still, going around and making your way to Fields Farm with a big group of kids in orange vests. So like, the benefits of still doing this work in the summer within our area is that, one, it's really, you get to focus on fun. So it's all about safety, yes, safety, but you have to make it more fun in the summertime, because that's just where they are and there's more opportunities to have fun, and walking and biking should be fun. So we get to really focus on that piece, and we get to reach a broader audience. So depending on what the program, what the boundaries are for your program, we are often said to work with specific schools, and we work with schools that are often Title I, or they are in the higher need schools. And that there's nothing, and that's a wonderful opportunity for this work. But the farther we reach, it just really helps, I find, with just having the program be known in the long-term planning of Safe Routes to School. And more people, we live where we are in Central Oregon, it snows and it's freezing. It is freezing like today, and in 2 days it's going to be 80 degrees, but it is a really cold school year. And so summertime, more are out there on their bikes and walking, and therefore it's not just taking advantage of that time, but they can learn it, and then they're out there doing it. Sometimes when I'm in a school during the school year and I'm like, okay, now take your adult and teach them how to cross the street, and they're like, oh, it's too cold. So it's a little harder. Summertime, they're out there, they're doing it, they're traveling around, and you can take advantage of that experience. And then also, we are often hiring new Safe Routes to School coordinators, and the summertime is a great time to be like, go for it, go try your skills. And it's a good time to actually grow your staff and your Safe Routes to School team, giving them experience in some of these summer program experiences that aren't the kind of the specific type formula that would be happening during the school year. And like I mentioned, strengthening partnerships is huge. Next slide. So a couple examples of how we do our summer programming. We work with a group called the Environmental Center. It's a nonprofit, and they have a program called the Eco Heroes Summer Camp. And this is a great opportunity. It happens twice during the summer, and we go out and the first couple days teach bike safety, and it's really similar to what our Safe Routes to School bike safety curriculum looks like, but in a kind of a condensed version of it in 2 days. I say condensed, but we get longer periods of time. So rather than getting 20 minutes or 30 or 60 where you're really like jamming, you might have 3 hours, but just one day. So it's a little bit different and it's fun. You kind of explore that opportunity. And then we take those skills out and we bike. And by now in Bend, this is the 2 months where it's actually warm and hot and it's 80 degrees. And all they want to do is go to the water, but we'll bike to the river. And then we go out and we bike to Sunlight Solar. We go to a local co-op. And we go to one of the local bike shops, which is a sustainable building. And then we talk about sustainable architecture, and we go to a local farm and talk about sustainable farming. And we bike all around Bend. Like we bike all around Bend to the outskirts. We get on the bus, and we do kind of a combination of things. It is an amazing opportunity to put all that to work. You actually put it to practice out there. So sometimes in the schools, we're doing like a little neighborhood ride, and you go out for 20 minutes, and that's great. This is the real deal. You're out there, and it's fun the whole time. So that's one of our summer camps that we do. We have a long-standing relationship with the Environmental Center. That's why this works. And we used to be housed within the Environmental Center's office. So it's something we take advantage of in the summertime. Next slide. Another summer program that we do is last summer we partnered with Vámonos Outside. Vámonos Outside is a nonprofit that works with the Latinx community and a lot of the migrant families and facilitates them getting out into nature. So Bend is this like, oh, everyone goes outside, everyone goes hiking and mountain biking, but not everyone does. Right? And so what they're trying to do is kind of make it that it is welcoming. And so they take a lot of the Latino youth out to the trails. But what they're realizing is there is a bit of a disconnect. They could get to the trails, have fun, but that trip to the trails was quite unsafe because they didn't know how to ride bikes along for transportation. So comes in Commute Options, and we got to partner with them and offer our bike safety as a part of their summer program to help kind of fill in that gap of education and also make it fun. And these were older students. And so a little bit of a difference, what these two examples are, is with the Environmental Center, I show up with some cones and we do the bike safety, and then we go around. Low resources. With this one, Vamonos Outside, we did bring the bikes because it comes down to equity also. When we bring our bikes out, we want to make sure everyone has access to a very similar piece of equipment. And we brought our bikes out and everyone got to kind of experience this together. And it was very fun. This is farther out from Bend. This was not in Bend. We went out to Redmond, so we got to experience a little bit different infrastructure. And we practiced bike safety. These were older students, so it looked very different. I had to play bike games because they didn't want to go around a track and do hand signals, so we did, but they loved the slow race. Has anybody ever done the slow race? Oh, these kids loved it, especially the director, the people who were running the camp, I think had the most fun, so the grown adults. And then red light, green light works, I find, at all ages. So that was really successful. And they really were able to dial into some of their tighter skills that then they could take to the trails. And when then transferred into mountain bikes, they were actually using some of the skills they learned during our games. So those were really fun, successful ways to keep Safe Routes to School going in the summertime. And it's kind of connecting to other groups that we don't always have access to when we're focusing on the specific schools we're contracted with. Okay, that's cute.
Thank you. Next we have Janelle Newton, and for those just joining us, Janelle was not able to zoom in, so we pre-recorded her video. So we're gonna have that, and hopefully you can all hear it.
Hi, my name is Janelle Newton, and I'm the Safe Routes to School facilitator at the Douglas CSD located in Douglas County, Oregon. Douglas CSD serves 13 different school districts and 46 different schools and covers over 5,000 square miles of land. So that is a large area and number of schools for one person to serve. So community engagement has been one of the ways I can reach a multitude of kids who attend various schools all throughout the county. Next slide. Douglas County has many timber and farming communities, just like you see pictured here. This is a photo of Glendale, Oregon, which is a community of less than 1,000 people. And in their entire school district, they have only 300 kids in their elementary school, middle school, and high school combined. So many of the communities here in Douglas County are similar to what you see pictured here. Beautiful, rural, but clearly not the type of urbanized area. And it's going to have a lot of infrastructure that is conducive to walking around town or cycling from place to place. Next slide. Many of the schools in Douglas County are located on highway roads, just like you see pictured here. And that's Elkton High School, and that is located on Highway 38 that goes from I-5 to the Oregon coast. Sometimes the speed limits are very high in the 40s, and even when they're reduced to a lower speed limit near the schools, the cars and trucks driving by do not always recognize that and drop to the school speed limit. In addition, many of these schools are lacking sidewalks or bike lanes or painted crosswalks that would be safer and more encouraging for kids to walk and bike to school. And the long truck that I was just speaking of, even if there was a bike lane, it's just kind of nerve-wracking sometimes when you're riding along and a huge log truck is passing by. And so just the schools in this area, many of them are in a situation where even if kids want to walk or bike to school, the culture is just not as such that it is encouraging and supportive. Many of the adults in our community do not engage in active transportation, and so then when they're driving in their cars and in their trucks as well, they might not be as aware as people who often cycle or walk as a mode of transportation for themselves. Next slide. Here is another elementary school. This is one of our oldest and more historic elementary schools in Roseburg, which is the biggest city in the county seat in Douglas County, with slightly over 20,000 in our population. So it's a beautiful school. It's rich in its history, but as you can see here, the main entrance to the school, it's lacking painted crosswalks. It's lacking sidewalks. There is no flashing beacon light, helping kids, get across the road safely. And so again, even if the families are wanting to engage in active transportation, it's just not exactly a setup where you would feel comfortable encouraging, your little 6-year-old to walk or bike to school. So then the question becomes, how do we put on encouragement events like walk and roll to school days when there is actually no safe route to get to the school? Next slide, please. And one of the alternatives we've come up with is to take our programming off of school campuses and engage the whole community via online challenges has been one of our main ways to do this. So we have, in addition to hosting in-person walk and roll to school days, we also like to run at the same time an online walk and roll to school week, where we open it up to a wider range of time, just knowing that, sometimes it's the weather, sometimes it's family schedules. If you choose one specific day, sometimes it's hard for people to participate. So by opening it up to a week, we're hoping to be able to catch more people. And then you can walk, of course, to and from your school. But if your school is not located in a safe place, if you are a distance learner, if you are a homeschool student, if you live 10 miles away from your school and you're not going to realistically walk or bike 10 miles to your school, you can walk to any safe alternative location for at least 20 minutes. And so the idea in this is encouraging kids to engage in active transportation, yes, to school if that works for them. But if it doesn't work for them, it's more about the spirit of engaging in it. And so walking or rolling to any safe location, like a city park or somewhere where there is a paved pathway where kids are going to be safe while they're walking and rolling, and still participating in the same type of event. Next slide, please. So the logistics of how these online challenges work is we typically use Google and create a Google form as the landing page. And then as you can see here, this is what our Google form looks like for our winter walk and roll to school challenge this year. We use it as a landing page and we keep it really simple. It's the child's name, what they did they walk or did they roll, and was it to school or an alternate location, just so we kind of get a gauge for where the kids who participate, like what activities they're choosing. And then we create a bit.ly link and a QR code, and we put that on all of our promotional materials, so that way it's a quick and easy way to get to this landing page. And then we use our social media accounts. I usually have a small article in the local newspaper. We've done radio interviews. We do a press release. And then I also push the same flyer to schools, because many of the schools that we participate in for our educational programming, again, they just might not have the infrastructure to host the in-person event at their school, but they can still, pass along the info to their students. And it's really fun to see the wide range of students we get. Sometimes there will be students, popping up from communities that we've never once stepped foot in that school door, in those school doors, to bring our educational programming, but they hear about it another way. And so even if the school staff wasn't interested in bringing in safe school programming, it still gives those families a choice to electively engage in it themselves. Next slide. So another form of community engagement that we have recently done is to hold a bike rodeo in our main city park instead of school campuses. And really this kind of started out of necessity during COVID, when schools shut down and then they reopened, but did not want outside volunteers, educators on their school campuses, just to keep exposure low. And so we thought, if we can't get into schools, we will just be in a very open setting and let people come to us. And so we're prepping to do our third bike rodeo in May. So we've been doing it the last couple of years and it's been great. Again, you get students from a wide variety of schools. You get homeschool students, you get distance learning students, and it's just a great way to engage in the community. And then another great thing about that is we partner with a lot of community organizations, as you see here, and it's just a great way to pull a lot of like-minded organizations together in a collaborative event, and just have a fun, educational way to spread bike-safety knowledge to kids. Next slide, please. So that is, in a nutshell, how and why we've chosen to engage the community school campuses, because I really got hired the week in March of 2020 that's closed down, and so I came into this role and was very excited, and then there were no schools to work. And so it kind of came out of necessity, but even as schools have reopened, and schools are just oftentimes overwhelmed, and many staff are overwhelmed, not be responding to my emails, or they might seem hesitant because even though it seems fun, it also seems like it's one more thing to take on to host walk and roll to school days or bike rodeos. So even if schools aren't responding, it still allows us to do our job and to engage the kids, the same kids that we hope to be able to work with in schools, but just in a different setting. So thanks for hearing my presentation on community engagement on school campuses, and now I'm going to go to Dani. Thank you.
And Dani couldn't be here, so that was recorded before we need that, obviously. Thank you all for bearing with that. I know it's not ideal to have a recording, but I really appreciate it because Janelle has done a lot of good work and it's important to have her talk about that. So I'm going to pass it over to Jessie.
My name is Jessie Wilson, and I am the only full-time Safe Routes Tool coordinator on the east side of the state. I was hired in 2019 at the beginning, and I was just starting to get going when the pandemic hit. So we have struggled because schools don't want you in there. They didn't want us in there. So I took our program to a different venue, and we do community events. I am just starting to get into school, which is my celebration. But we partner with our local police department, and they had a huge amount of bicycles in their impound lot, and they didn't know what to do with them. So I said, I will take them. And I used some of my money and developed this program that I have now. So we've refurbished them and we give them to kids who need bikes. I've given them to entire families. Can you switch slides? Yes. And I just covered all of that. This is why I don't. Our main source is public. For my program is public events. I just started an incentive program. So we're doing a positive reinforcement incentive program for kids, because if LeGrand is a tiny community and it's the biggest community in Union County. But if you drive through town, you will see kids with no helmets on. And it scares me because there's cars, the cars don't pay attention. So my incentive program is with my police department, and they give out kids, I get companies to donate incentives to me, and then I give them to our police department, and our law enforcement department, and they give them out to kids that they find wearing helmets. McDonald's was the biggest hit ever. Kids got to go have chicken nuggets, or they got to have fries. So this year we're going to try to get more businesses involved. Yes. So part of what I wanted to do is I really wanted to get bicycle safety back into the community, but I really needed to educate adults too, because the adults get really, I want to say lackadaisical, but I don't feel like that's the right word. They get really just lazy they don't pay attention. And so for me, it was educating the kids, but it was also educating the adults. So I partner with law enforcement to get the bicycles with this program. I refurbished the bicycles with the help of one of our bike shops in town. And then I targeted the highest population of need. And we have a few communities in LeGrand that are, that I'm fortunate enough to have parks by. So I can use my parks department, link and set up in these parks. And I don't just give away bicycles. I also give away free helmets. We give away cotton candy. Any child from anywhere within a mile's distance will come for cotton candy, much to their parents' dismay. But I also give away like education material. Kids don't get to leave without education material. You can order a plethora of free education material through ODOT TSO. If you need more than what they're willing to give you, just email them and they will. I have gotten 1,200 of one flyer. They don't care. They'll give it to you, especially if you have a good reason to get it. So they get a bag full of education materials. I have partnered with different organizations in my town and they come to the park and they are also, I totally promote community outreach. Like come in, just, set up a table, bring an art project, bring sidewalk chalk. I mean, anything, bring your materials and then help me, make this a big community event. We've done that a couple times. Advertising. I am lucky enough to be part of our local coalition. We have a lot of connections with those between the coalition and the Parks and Rec Department. So advertising is pretty easy for us. We do public service announcements. I try to keep the information relevant. How do I say it? I'm just going to say it. From the east side of the state, we get a lot of stigma. We are not Portland. We are not a metro area. We get tired of being compared to the metro area because we are tiny. We have our little bitty community and it's just Portland information is not relevant to us. So I really have to make sure I keep all of our information relevant. I will give out all of our brochures, but I have to go through and edit a lot of our stuff. And I find that in a lot of rural areas is they just, if it's not relevant, they're going to completely ignore it. So I will go through and edit stuff and make sure it's relevant to our area. We have 3 bike lanes in LeGrand. We're the only 3 bike lanes in Union County. One is on our main road in LeGrand, and it's a very well-used bike lane. Another one is way over on the other side of town that no one ever uses because no one rides their bike that way because it's really not a friendly road to ride on. And another one is on Geckler, which gets used quite often, which is also another road that's way out of the area. We do have a bike train that rides on that one in the springtime when it's not snowing, which hasn't happened lately. But I also try to make enough fun. So in this particular picture, which you can't see, but this particular picture, we were at a park and we closed down a street and the parents, and I don't even need to give directions. The parents are like, a street's closed. So they go out there and they were setting up bike races and they were setting up just different things all on their own. I didn't have to do anything. They were just excited to have the room to do it. One of the things that I really wanted to make sure with these events that I didn't turn anybody away. So I don't ask for proof of income. I don't ask for anything. If a family comes up and says, we don't have any bicycles, we want them. I'm like, hold on, I'm gonna hook you up. And I have all sizes. I have anywhere from like the really tall single speeds to tiny little toddler bikes. I have all of those bikes and I will give an entire family bicycles. I gave one family had 5 kids and they were all teenagers. They grew out of their bikes. I gave all 5 teenagers bicycles. So this is one thing that I really try to promote in my area is just to get out there because for some reason, and my kids are older in their 20s, so I don't know when it happened. Kids aren't riding their bikes as much. So I'm really just trying to reawaken that in our community and get them out there. And my biggest goal, not this school year because it didn't work out, but my next school year is I want to get my walking school bus program started. But through summer education and summer programming is when I get all my information out there. So we have for a brand new program that no one knew about like 3 years ago, we have had a huge success. And these are my current and future events. I just taught an entire day at the middle school, which I thought I would hate, and I actually loved it, which was disturbing to me. The law enforcement program, Get Caught Being Safe, is our bicycle safety program. We are developing the walking school bus. I'm very determined to get the schools on board with the alternative drop-off locations. I'm running 2 scooter camps this summer with our scooter fleet. And we are revamping our grand tour route, which they put me in charge of through Parks and Rec. It is a 2-day, a lot of mile bike ride, but we have 13 people signed up for it this year. And I'm just throwing that in with my stuff. So that's me.
Awesome. And last but not least, we have Julie Van Horn with
Hello. Julie Van Horn, St. Francis School Coordinator with the Medford School District, Southern Oregon. I am going to touch on how to engage the whole school. And when I say the whole school, I'm talking about staff and then a little bit of PTO and the parents. This is a quick snapshot of the slides to come. So I just want to list, there are 9 opportunities I hand to schools when I say I'm doing an event. And number 1, I could just put number 1 on there and it could cover everything. Are you anyone? Yes. Well, then you can help me. You can help the program. And then I list your job title description and I give you options to choose from. If one of these 9 items were chosen, it's awesome. If all of them, even better. The ideas I give them, I create this in a document. So the slides you'll see is on a 2-page Google Doc. They have clickable hyperlinks. They have ideas and anyway, so we'll go on to the next slide. The first person up, again, is any staff. Anyone can advertise the events. So my events are walk and roll to school days, where I do 4 a year, and schools can do more than that, but I do district-wide 4 of them. And I just ask them, this particular one is Ruby Bridges. You can simply say, are you walking and rolling to school tomorrow? As you greet the students as they come to school, as they're leaving, I just want the word of mouth. I want them to advertise. If you're a teacher or anyone, you can tell them you're going to be out front, give them high fives as you come in, greet them, let them know ahead of time. I can't wait to see you walking and rolling tomorrow, remember, and then greet them. And then our first I'd start breaking it up. Like, are you a PBIS team? Our positive behavior intervention system. Every school probably has one. I think it's a across the board. All public education has a positive behavior system. And sometimes they do charms, brag tags, or little, I'm an independent student. I can walk around and do my own thing, maybe go to the library without someone to guide me. And I offer them ideas like, I have little feet I can give you, even if you're a PE teacher, you could do this. And if they walk and roll to school that day, give them a little charm, and then it could be their brag tag. Okay. If you're a PE teacher, for Ruby Bridges, they have a video, a song. And I just said, if you're playing a game, play that song. And then touch on the theme. Talk about Ruby Bridges, by the way, do you guys know? Okay. So she was a student of color that went to school in first grade. Help me out here. In New Orleans, yep. And she was first student in her school to desegregate in her area. And she had to be escorted every day by security guards. And she was in a single classroom because nobody else was in her classroom with her. So we talked for the PE teachers, they could play the video, the song, which has lyrics to it and talks about Ruby Bridges. And then at the end of it, maybe talk about being kind. What does it look like to be inclusive when you're playing PE games or when you're outside at recess? And again, we're doing Walk and Roll School Day. So not only are they advertising about it, but then they're talking about the theme. This one just happens to be Ruby Bridges. If it wasn't, like, say if it was Earth Day, they could say, why are we walking to school? PE teachers across the board, they want more activity. This aligns with their same goals. The Walk and Roll aligns with their goals. Media Center, librarians, for this day, I asked them, pull out your books that talk about civil rights or social justice and have it on display. So when the teachers come in and they have them categorized by grade, and they can click on a free, this is a hyperlink to them. And I don't know if you guys have access to these slides, but if they click on that, they can download an online printable PDF version of Ruby Bridges' story, and then they can do a read aloud. We have grandparents that come into the schools and offer to read. Most schools do this. Smart readers, and they could pull up the book and read to them. Thank you. And then these are things the toolkit, Commute Options is it Commute Options, right? That offers this, or
Whitney made it.
Whitney.
But Oregon Safe Routes to School.
Yeah, Oregon Safe Routes to School. This is open to anyone. If you just Google Safe Routes to School, you're going to find a plethora of items.
And one of them is a toolkit that includes bingo cards, and they change throughout each walk and roll event. This one is Ruby Bridges, and this one is an awesome one because it's not just walk and roll. It's write a letter to Ruby Bridges, or donate items to your local shelter, or make a new friend, or what you can change it. You can edit this if you want. But this was our social emotional advocates, which in the schools, they help out our students who are struggling with behaviors, or they're helping educate teachers on how to handle situations. So they have themes in our district. And one of them told me, the ideas that I actually have on here all stemmed from me talking to schools about the walk and roll events. And they would say, well, how do I help? I'm the SEA, or how do I help? I'm this. And so I started saying, well, I think I have an idea for you. They have themes. Their theme for this month was kindness. It totally aligned with this. So this one is a bingo card. This actually fits nicely with our rural school that did this. They didn't have walkable sidewalks. They're almost 100% busing. There wasn't a safe area for them to walk. So it wasn't realistic. This was one way for them to be involved. Go for a walk to your park. Like I said, walk with a friend, walk your dog or something. So it's getting them to exercise at home, experience pedestrian safety at their house, or maybe if they don't even have safety at their house, they could go in town and make a trip, go to the library, whatever it might be. So it gives them options. And then you can do whatever you want with that bingo card. It could just be one and done, or you can do a raffle or something. The school that I partnered with did a raffle. And if you're a classroom teacher, usually there's some times during the day where maybe they say, okay, we're going to have 15 minutes of drawing time, art time, downtime. We're not going to, we're just taking a little brain break. So maybe they can have them make posters for the event, and they can put it up around their schools, or draw something that's related to that walk and roll and school event. If it's Earth Day, maybe they can draw a picture about Earth Day. Actually, right now, currently, I'm doing a art contest, and I'm turning that art into lawn signs that they're going to advertise for walk and roll school days. They're going to reuse them and change the date every time. So the winner at that school is going to have their art for their school. So they have, pride and ownership over their art. This one was Ruby Bridges, and I did copy this from online because this isn't my artwork from anyone that I did it. Class writing assignment. ATI is our small group where they target their levels of reading, and so they usually have toolkits. And they actually in our district had one based on Ruby Bridges. So I was like, perfect, this works out. And I do know someone, a couple people that did this. They told me about it. Sometimes you can create something and you have no idea if it's being used. Just assume it is. They might not be able to tell you because, they move it on to the next subject. But I did touch base with a couple people. Okay, next one, principals. This principal is, oh my gosh, he's a rock star. When I said I was doing a walking school bus, it was my first one. Jessie, I'll share, I've already shared with you how it went, but I was super excited about this one. We were at the 1 mile. This is a bus stop that actually qualifies for busing. And then I picked up these kids and made our way through the neighborhoods and picked it up. When I made it official, made the flyer, the principal, I sent him a message saying, I'm looking for volunteers. He responded and said, I want to be one, which cracked me up. I was like, well, oh, you are not a volunteer. You're going to be working with me. This is awesome. This is my husband. He was voluntold. This is my this is a community partner, RVTD, who is our local transportation department. He's our a pedestrian, and he's a travel trainer. So he teaches kids how to use their transportation system, and he also does pedestrian safety. So I just have this, the school, the community leader, family, who's also community, honestly, if you think about it. He's doing it. He's volunteering. I have kids in the school district. My kids were there to help. These kiddos walked with us, and it was just super exciting to get the principal's buy-in. Even though it wasn't as big as I wanted it to be. You can't tell this is snow on the ground. In Medford, we don't get a whole lot of snow on the ground, and when we do, everyone goes, yeah! So we had a threat of snow day, so we didn't know how it was going to go. It turned out to just be a sprinkle. I called it the best winter walk and roll school day ever because it was truly wintry. Okay, next one. And last but not least, I tapped into our kids free labor. They're already there. These are our student council, this gal here at the school. She does student council, and I asked, can you be there to greet the kiddos? They handed out the free bookmarks that are available. Again, the toolkits and these items you can get online. And we handed out to the students. So you can hand it out however you want, but this one was just anyone. I don't even care if they got dropped off by a car. These kids were handing it out. So not only are we spreading the message about Ruby Bridges and the importance of her story, but we're also connecting it to Walk and Roll to School Day. We're getting lots of connection out there. These two pictures here, I am extremely proud of. This is a parent volunteer at one of our rural schools, the same rural school that I'm talking about. We have like 2 or 3 that there's just no way they can walk to school. And she is an avid bicyclist, her family is. And when we were talking, I said, are you guys doing, you heard about Walk and Roll School Day? Are you guys doing the bingo card? She said, well, we're riding our bike to school. I said, you ride your bike to school on this road? And she said, yeah. I said, okay, all right. Well, and she said, I'm gonna see how many kids I can get. She got all these kiddos, every single one of them. Okay, he has a helmet on probably, but she told me they all had helmets on. And granted, she's wearing dark clothes, but she had all the lights and the flashiness. The kid, I love this kid. Like, yes, don't be too proud to look like a traffic cone going down the road. You will be seen. So the student leadership, they are eager to help. They want to help. The parents, they're eager to help and they want to help. We just need to connect with them and make it easy. Something that they're already doing. Not all of them are already doing it, but if they see the excitement, one parent responsible for 10 kids, that's awesome. What if I had 10 parents? Then maybe it's more. So my message is that you can engage the whole school, even with one event. And of those 9 people that I try to tap into, if I get just one, it's starting somewhere. And my goal is any one of those at any different school. It doesn't even have to be the same one. It is kind of a little bit exhausting to have so many different connections. You got to take what you can get. There isn't going to be one champion at every school, and there is not going to be one definition of what your point of contact is going to be, but just keep trying. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, great. No pause for the panel. You all, I want to open it up now to any questions folks might have.
Really interesting. All your events for things, but you like sit down to planning. What does that look like for you? What are those goals for planning? Because right now I feel like everything I'm doing is like, okay, next week, okay, maybe next month, but everything is so quickly moving. Feeling like right now I need to do more planning, and I'm not sure if that's happening for you. Are you able to plan something in 6 months? Are you able to? I mean, I have an idea of what I'm going to do, but what does that look like? And are people willing to commit to your planning and what you're doing?
Well, I can say that I don't do the summer thing, but even being on the panel, it's interesting. I learned something by listening to this. I am 11 months, so I go past the school year and I start before the school year. And I thought, that's my planning time. But you know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to try to incorporate those kids that are leaving school, try to plan before school gets out. What I'm going to do with those kids when they get out, because they are going into summer programs, and I'm allowed to connect with outside, community partners. And if they're already doing something, maybe YMCA is doing a camp, and I'll say, oh, get me in there. Maybe I can have a captive audience. So the planning for me is hard. I'm right there with you. I will say that my events, I have them on the calendar for the next year already. Last year I did that. There was a couple of problems with that. Some national dates got changed, and I stuck with my dates because they were on my calendar. And then, I think the planning is a really hard one. But as far as you guys go, you see.
For our planning for the school year, there's 2 things. We've always done August meetings, right when staff starts to come back week before, and I schedule those at the end of June, and I put those on the calendar. Yes, those move, because I might go, I'm like, okay, we got a meeting. They're like, oh, can we? And we go push around, but as long as it's anchored on the calendar for August in June, then I can meet with administrators and get at least our education on the calendar and review the date for Walk and Roll School Day. To get what we're just finally now getting with the district is getting the Walk and Roll School Days on the district calendar, the actual official one. That is required, that the communication needs to go May before or June before school breaks. And then if I can have that, then it can go on, then it can make it onto the calendar officially. So yeah, so there's specific dates that I have to make sure I hit.
They're planning right now, schools are planning right now for next school year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then summer thing is just, that's normally about 6 months ahead of time with the specific to the entity that I'm planning with for summer programs. Yeah, because they're making their summer camp. If you think about when those camp schedules come out, that's when you have to get in there.
Working on it. How long are your camps?
About a week, 5 days.
And how many kids in each of those?
The environmental center can have up to 15, and it's varied. It's like 8 to 12 really. And then with the Vominos outside is much larger. So they're about 20 plus students. And they tend to be older too, which makes it challenging with bike fleets if you're fleet designed for 3rd and 4th graders. But that's a whole other.
And for mine, I have a much faster turnaround rate because I don't have to coordinate with a lot of people. But if you can get with your Parks and Rec department and then get on their calendars for events, it's in with your city. So like, and so I just have to.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, it should be listed under like services for any city department.
I'm just maybe for a job for the summer thing, but I did make it back so.
Yeah, well, it's like more mechanics, don't worry.
It's not too late. I know from experience, I'm in, I know that our school's planning our summer program, and it changed based on our funding that we were getting. They were on the wire. They were planning to do one thing and then they got funding information and it changed to something else. So they're still open. This is school summer program. So I imagine maybe it might be the same way for recreational programs. Just because they have it on the date doesn't necessarily mean they have their day-to-day filled up. And if you're looking for maybe a one and done day, just ask them, do you have any spots open? And then shoot for that spot. Go for it. It could be something small.
And with Parks and Rec, typically they will have all their camps planned out already. And if you can find a theme that goes with what you're doing, just call them and say, I want to present this day. And then they'll put you on their stuff because they're always looking for people to fill time.
Feelings got this huge things for Safety Town, and when my children were little, everybody was talking about, oh my God, my daughter's going to Safety Town. I know it was like this huge thing, and then everybody has all these memories of it. I'm like, where did he go? It's just like a ghost who went somewhere. I'm still trying to find out what happened and who wanted to do it. And people loved it, and they're still asking me to do it. They have me to do Safety Town, but I don't even go. Like, they wanted it, they loved it. I wish that they could. That's right.
I would definitely check with your Parks and Rec department because a lot of times that they went away with somebody who was running it. So we had a program that I just restarted, and it has nothing to do with my job, but so that it was ran by a person in our Parks and Rec department, and she retired, and so the program ran away, and I liked it, so I said, well, just give me a couple months, I can plan it. So that's what it just takes. So, but I would definitely check with your Parks and Rec department. Yeah. And then if you want to start something like that, just get on their calendar and tell them this is what I want to do. And then collect people resources like bike shops, bike clubs, trek clubs. That's what I do a lot of.
Yeah, I'll mention City of Gresham just did a safety fest very similar to like a safety town type event. So you could probably ask them about their event and they might be able to share some of their planning resources and stuff.
They might have, sometimes what I notice too is if they have a successful event one year, they are already put it on the calendar for the next year. And then they'll look to increase community attendees, like spots or slots.
Madeline has a question?
Yeah, my question was specifically for LeGrand, but with the bike program that you started, have you noticed like a big influx of bikers out on the road? And with that, like, has your community considered more, like creating more bike paths and bike infrastructure within?
Infrastructure is it's really hard for me to address. We have a lot of entities who do our roads. Like we have ODOT who runs our Adams Avenue, but then we have Public Works who runs 3/4 of our town. We have the county who runs the other 3/4 of our town. So for me, infrastructure is one of the harder things for me to tackle. Our roads, if our roads are already there, if they've been there for a long period of time, they won't fix them. They won't change them. We aren't going to get them relined. We aren't going to get them wider. They just won't fix them. That's what I've been told. So my only, the only thing I can fix is if a road needs to be repaved and I can get if I can find a big enough grant, then they will be more than happy to put a bike lane in, which I'm working on. We have one road that it's just a huge road, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculously wide. And I said, look, my bike lane can go here. I just have to find the right grant. So that's my bribery for our public works is funding. And if I can find them the funding, then I can get my project done. I've noticed more bikes in our bike racks at school. So yeah, that's not huge. And I also do an incentive. I will hang little keychains on their bikes if they ride them to school. So they don't necessarily get like too much out of it, but they like little keychains.
Yeah. Great. So any additional questions? Zoom too. I also want to see if there's any questions here. I think there's some difficulty hearing. And I'll make sure you get the slides as well too. So yeah, any additional questions here for the room or the Zoom? Okay, well then great. We're gonna go to our trivia portion, probably the most exciting. Okay, so the rules, you can either play by yourself or form a team with your section. I'm gonna read off the question, and I would do the Jeopardy theme song, but I don't want to get sued and this is being recorded. So I'm just gonna count down from 5, and the person that raises their hand first will get to answer. For those on Zoom, go ahead and put it in the chat, or now there's only one person in the Zoom, so fine, okay. And if you know the answer, put it in the chat, I will send you a prize. So if you raise your hand, if you have the question correct, you'll get a prize. And these are all general knowledge safe routes things. Some are also some like very obvious pitches for some Oregon safe routes programming. So just let's go. All right, this one should be an easy one. Oregon Safe Routes to School is funded by which state of Oregon department?
I think the corner.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was. Yes. Great job. I would be very concerned. Oh, and 2, there is actual prizes. Yes. So we have this cool hat for you.
How many prizes are we doing?
We're doing 1 for each question. So
How many questions?
still win.
How many questions? Yeah.
Yes.
So you have like 2 bags for me, 2 bags from Julie, and a hat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're doing great. All right, next question. This is a safety question. In Oregon, every intersection is considered a what? I saw Madeline first. Awesome. Yeah, there we go. Great. Thank you, Julie, too, for being my runner. All right. They're really warm hats. It's perfect for the 80-degree weather you're gonna have. All right, next question. We talked about this one. One 6-year-old who desegregated the first public school in New Orleans in 1960 is celebrated every November with what Walk and Roll School Day? Okay, Beth, you're really eager.
No. Bridges.
Yes.
I'm so excited. You wanna know what day in November?
Oh, no. What with what walk?
Oh, yeah.
Roll School Day? Here we go. Anna, you get extra points for knowing the date.
Yeah. No, yeah, what
All
month
right.
it was?
Or I think this is my shameless plug question. So this train the trainer style program gives you the tools to teach bike and pedestrian safety lessons anywhere in Oregon, as well as access to free bike fleet rentals and a pedestrian safety toolkit. Whoa, that's really great. It's right here. What is it? Yes. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I love these. They have heroes on them.
And as another shameless pitch, if you join our annual meeting tomorrow, in the Metro building, room
410 over at Metro, just a few blocks that way.
yes, if you join us for that, after our annual meeting, Lindsay will be leading a pedestrian safety training. So you get to walk away ready to go. That's awesome. And then finally, another Walk and Roll School Day question. Taking place in October, what is the first official Walk and Roll School Day each year?
I don't know if anyone said this yet.
Walk and roll to school day?
International Walk and Roll School Day. We'll give it to you.
I don't think anyone ever listed, but my 4 days that I do are the ones you'll find on the Safe Routes to School website. We list every 4 of them. National, Ruby Bridges, Winter Walk and Roll, and then the Spring or May Challenge.
And we also have Earth Month as well too for.
Yeah, because it's kind of around May, so you make it what you want.
Yeah. All right, thank you all so much. I realized I forgot to put any contact information. I think most of you have it, but if you email emily@commuteoptions.org, I will make sure you get to the correct person, or info@OregonSafeRoutes.org as well too. And Hannah will make sure it gets to the right person. So
Oh, yeah.
awesome. All right, we're done.
We are done, but I want to see who here is it, you guys all Safe Routes School coordinators, or you do events? Who does events? Who promotes events? You do? Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.